You know, Spirit has to be here right now. Because in my experience, and lots of things that I have done, the electronics don't always work when there's special energy around. And I think that maybe that's what we have, the problems here, right? Okay. Getting my notes ready here. Yes. Okay. Do I really want to talk? Oh, okay. All right. Who is this Christ? When Jesus asked his disciples, who do the crowds say I am? He got a lot of different answers. It was interesting that some said he was John the Baptist come back alive. Or even the ancient prophet of Jeremiah, which I thought was a bullfrog, but anyway, Jeremiah, or maybe even Elijah, or some other ancient prophet. But all of these were references to reincarnation, or at least the merging of spirits, which is kind of interesting in itself. But Jesus then asked, who do you say I am? And Peter answered, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus got all excited there. I mean, he said, he told Peter that it was the Father in heaven that had revealed that to him, and that he would, that makes him like a rock, and that he would base his church upon the rock of this information. And that Peter received the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Jesus was excited and pleased. And then you read the very next paragraph, where Jesus yells at Peter and says, get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me. Who is this Christ? Talk about a 180-degree shift. Who is this Christ you can lavish praise one moment and then lash out in criticism toward another in the next moment? Who is this Christ that has so many moods, sides to his personality? Who is this Christ? That's a question that's been asked by people for almost 2,000 years. And the answers have been as varied as the people who have asked the questions. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush and give you a history lesson or anything like that, or I'm not even going to tell you what you already know. Because you are enlightened already. You already know a whole lot. You must be, because you're here. You're here in this church, Unity Church. I mean, look at that. Now, many of you, I've listened to you tell your stories, and many of you have come from a background of a restrictive church. A lot of you have had been in a Catholic persuasion. Others have been in even the Pentecostal persuasion. So it goes from one end to the other. And most of you felt that you were in a church that, or in a religion that said things you didn't like. Things like, you are a sinner. All people are sinners. And unless you believe and act in a certain prescribed manner, you're doomed to hell or damnation. Gee, the shoe fits. No. Well, maybe this attitude didn't really go over well with you. You didn't feel right. Maybe you didn't like to be told what to believe or what to do. Maybe you even questioned what was being said in that church, and you decided either to quit the church and just not be a good church-going Christian at all, or else you decided to look around, and you finally found a church here, the Unity Church, where you could settle down, which instead of sermons about the judgment of God, you found talks on how to improve your life. And you have to admit, this is a great way to get rid of the guilt in your life. This was a step in the right direction. But you know something? It still doesn't answer the question, who is this Christ? In all the other churches, you would occasionally hear a sermon about the return of Christ, the second coming. Of course, the more enlightened the church is, the less you'll hear sermons about the second coming. Now think back. How many times have you heard a sermon about the second coming in the Unity Church? Aha. You don't hear talks about Jesus in the Unity Church returning on a cloud or the final judgment days of a vengeful God. And there's good reason for that. The statement of faith, which we all said just a little while ago, the statement that states that there is only one God and one presence in all the universe and in my life, and that's God the good, omnipotent. Well, that doesn't leave much room for a powerful evil force to be triumphant over, does it? I remember a minister friend of mine when I was a young teen, and we were discussing longevity, how to live long, and how long we would live. He looked at my hand. I've got the lifeline is really, really long. It goes all the way down like that. And he kind of looked at me, and he knew my grandparents who lived in their 90s, and so he said, "Bill, with your genetics, you don't have to worry about a long life. You're going to live until the second coming." Well, the irony of that statement is that I've already done that. What? Second coming? Did you miss it? What? Did you miss it? Well, no, not really. But it comes in a way that, in a manner that bears on the question of who is this Christ. First of all, I guess we have to acknowledge that Christ is not the last name of Jesus. Jesus Christ! Everybody says it that way as if those names go together, first and last name. But Christ, the term Christ, is a collective noun that includes more than just Jesus. The scriptures tell us that Jesus became the Christ. And if he became the Christ, so can we. The second coming of Christ is not one individual that comes like it did in the time of Jesus. The second coming of Christ is that which when many people take on mature spirituality. In truth, you always are the Christ. But it is your awareness of being the Christ that makes it valid in your life. Okay, I want everybody to look down at their feet. So look down at your feet. Those are the feet of Christ. You are the flesh and blood incarnation of the Christ. Oh, no, not me, you say. Not me. No, I'm not good enough to be Christ. It's not about whether you're good enough or not. The fact is, you are the Christ. And I am the Christ. Maybe we don't seem to be the Christ all the time. But surely, some of the time. Have you ever gotten mad at somebody and called them by some name that we won't repeat here in church? Or at least thought that name toward them? Well, yeah, we all kind of do. Remember the scripture that I read, quoted? in the early part of this talk. Even Jesus did that. He was human as well as Christ. In a church that I served, I had a young man that he was 15, 16, something like that. And I tried to encourage him to get baptized. He hadn't been baptized. And he told me that he wasn't ready yet. He says, I still have a lot of things I want to do before I have to settle down and become a good Christian. Like most of people, I guess, he tended to separate out our humanity from our becoming Christ-like. He believed that when he took that step of being baptized, that he would have to put aside all the things of life that we consider wrong or exciting, and to take on a dull life of a proper Christian. Well, it seems to me that the life of Christ never was dull. If I can read anyway. It's not the job of a good Christian to change beliefs and behavior of another. We all have a vast array of beliefs, and we're all entitled to keep those beliefs. It's not our place to tell another person that his or her beliefs are mistaken. They have to find out for themselves. It says something about it right there. Sometimes we take our mistaken beliefs all the way to the grave. And it's only after that we discover how limiting those beliefs really were. So, if we are Christ, and we are, what are we to do? Well, Christ must do two things, at least. First, we allow others to have whatever beliefs they want to hold on to. No matter how bizarre they may seem, man, there's a lot of bizarre beliefs out there right now. Whole lot of bizarre ones. But we allow them, if that's what you want to believe, go ahead. You allow them that. Because Christ allows. Now, the second thing that we got to do is to model to everyone from every belief and background to model love. We work around everyone. We want everyone to slowly open to love and to move away from judgment and condemnation. And how do we do that? As Christ, modeling love in all circumstances. We are the following. We are observant and not reactive. Remember the story that Larry told last week about the guy in a car, two cars, and they're coming at him, went around the corner, and one of them yelled, "Pig!" and the other one said, "Jerk!" And then he turns around, there's a pig in the road. So, we have to be observant and not reactive to what's going on, because we don't always have all the information that we need. Secondly, we must remain truthful. If we don't know whether it's the truth or not, then don't say it. Don't repeat it. Now, I'm guilty of this a lot of times. When, I used to think something was true, but it really wasn't. And I never had checked it out to make sure whether it was or wasn't. But we must remain truthful. As Christ, we rarely are forgiving. I want to see your faces when I said that. Rarely do we forgive. We rarely forgive because we rarely condemn. And if there's no condemnation, then there's no sense of having anything. There's nothing to forgive. So we don't forgive, but rarely. Ever thought about that, did you? New one to think about. we are also filled with gratitude. Thankful for whatever happens in our lives, whether it seems to be bad or not. And Christ is loving, filled with the joy of life. Got that? Joy of life. Okay. To be like this, does it mean that we're going to have to change our beliefs? Some of them? Maybe. Maybe not. You know, that's only you can answer that question. But it's probably a good guess to say that at least some of our beliefs will have to change. But it's going to have to be our choice. As Christ, we must look at our own beliefs and decide what we're going to do about it. Whether we're going to accept them, continue with them, or get rid of them. You know, as a young man, about 6 months ago, I had heard when I was really young, I had heard about same-sex encounters. And I was taught that this was an abomination to the Lord. And they even quote scripture and point it out to me. Well, it's true confession time. No, I'm not gay. Okay. In fact, I was so straight that I didn't even know about sex one way or the other for a long time. You know, I was pretty naive about the whole sex thing. But I had a good friend in high school and in college that turned out later that he was gay. But he was a good friend. And in college for a whole year, I had a roommate that after college, he came out of the closet and announced that he was gay. And I lived with him for a whole year and didn't know it. But that's all right. Because those instances made me look at the whole homosexual situation in a new light. Style is not my choice, but I've learned not to condemn another for their preference or their choice. Love is still love, even if it comes in that form. I don't have to approve of it, but I don't condemn it either. But you know, we're not wholly defined by our sexual preference. We are a multidimensional person, but we can do so many things. We are so many people in one. You know, I'm a creative person. I like to work with electronics. I work with computers. They don't always work with me, but I work with them. I listen and I counsel people who come to me. I'm a hypnotherapist. I practice Reiki and other energy forms of healing. I love to garden. I hate to mow grass, though. Who I am is not defined by what I do or by what I believe. I could be ultra-conservative, or I could be a tree-hugging dirt worshiper. The one thing I am, though, is the embodiment of Christ, just as you are. As Christ, you really have no worries or fears. Whatever situation we find ourselves in, we will experience it with love as our guide. We're regular people who are divinely guided at all, or at least some of the time. We're not followers of anything or anybody, because we are each God, body, flesh, as mankind or womankind. Now, remember what I said earlier about the second coming? We're going to get back to that topic. And we're going to talk about that because here on this slide somewhere, oh, got to turn it on. Wait a minute. Oh, I told you they don't like me. Electronics doesn't like me. I don't like electronics. All right. Now, there is there is a blank screen up here. Okay, now. There's a human world. That's where we live in. We live in the human world. But there's also a divine world. And you notice where those two cross over. That's where we are. We are in the human world, but we're of the divine world. We are Christ in the midst of a human world. Now, there's also a new world coming. Revelation tells us that a new heaven and a new earth, a new world is coming. And those, it's going to, well, it kind of combines all of them, doesn't it? In fact, you might say it does combine all of them. Like that. So, get it up there where you can see it a little bit. The whole idea is that we're going to have a new world. And it's going to combine all of those into one. Eventually, everything will be divine. And anything that's not divine will not be in the world very long. God lives openly on the earth as the many lives of Christ. God lives as you. And as Christ, nothing can harm us. As we've learned through Reverend Larry's talks and the Course in Miracles and other talks like that. God is no longer to be known as angry and vengeful God in the sky. This superstition will be replaced as we, Christ, model the love which is truly God. It's kind of, in a way, having our cake and eating it too. And as a person who is a sugarholic, that's great to me. But we will live in the world, and it will be a world in which all are Christ. We will example to the human world the true meaning of power. Not the power which grabs for this or that, or attempts to conquer others through force, but the power of quietly accepting and loving others, or observing and being aware rather than reacting. Now, not many will understand this. They will not know who we are. We'll seem to be weak and strange to them. We'll look like the regular people that we are. Yeah, you do. You really do. Okay. But there'll be something that others will not just, there'll be something that they can't put their finger on about us. You'll feel afraid of us and the Christ in our modeling of the true power. They're afraid because their egos are afraid of being replaced by Christ. They feel like trapped rats, and they begin to lash out at our love. They think irrational. And I think we see the results of irrational thinking on TV every day. We live in the human world, being the blessing to others that we are. And we know that something spectacular is happening. And that something is the second coming of Christ. The world is in conflict. We know that. We can see that. But we are not conflict. We are the eye of the storm, as we have been learning in these past few weeks. We are the calm, the peace, the tranquility in the storm. But we are not saviors. Our blessings encourage individuals to save themselves by taking themselves out of the conflict. Everyone must save themselves from the conflict, because they are the only one who's really preventing or blocking peace in their own minds. No one else has the kind of power over them. Remember, there's only one power. And that power is good. You know, being Christ is about taking back your own power from the ego mind and then sharing that power which you are with others. Sharing your power to stop suffering. Now, sure, the body's going to hurt, the body's going to ache, you have problems with the body, but that doesn't mean you have to suffer. You can choose to be filled with joy, no matter how much aches and pains you may have. We have the power as Christ to enhance ourselves and others with love. Two people are in love, they see each other as the most beautiful person in the world. They may be ugly, but they see each other as beautiful. So you enhance the other person in love. As Christ, we have the ability to change and the power to change situations and outcomes. If someone is really angry and everything like that, you can smile at them. And as Joshua says, and let them wonder what you're up to. But you change the energy, the dynamics. So you change the outcome of situations. We have the power to know and to trust. To trust that this power is indeed within us as Christ. And we have the power to manifest. To bring into the human world part of the divine work. Now, last week when Larry told us about the infinite possibilities which exist, and when we choose one, we eliminate all other possibilities. We limit ourselves. Well, that is true. There's another part to it. When we realize the unlimited possibilities that are open to us, we can choose another possibility, a higher possibility. No matter whether you're 10 years old or 101, we can choose to be unlimited. We can choose to live as the Christ which we are. That is our choice. So who is the Christ? We are. You're right. Absolutely. It is us. To paraphrase what Pogo said in the comic strips, we have met he said, we have met the enemy and it is us. We have met the Christ and it is us. Christ has returned in and through each of us. So do not grow discouraged. You are in this world because you chose to be here to participate in the second coming. The mass incarnation which is growing every day, learning to love and to love unconditionally. This is truth. This is the way that it is. So be it. And so it is. Let's now have a moment of meditation. Go to the next slide. want you just simply to relax. Just relax. Relax and take a deep breath. Take a deep breath in and out. And even if you can't take that deep breath because of asthma or something, you can at least breathe in and out. Close your eyes if you wish. Feel the truth throughout your whole body that you are the Christ. Oh, there may be doubts here and there. Parts of your physical or even emotional body which do not feel the joy of being Christ, but that's okay. Allow those parts to remain for a while. The joy of being the Christ will naturally allow those areas to dissipate or to be transformed. Take a deep breath again. And just feel the joy of being the Christ. Feel the release of any guilt you may have been carrying that says it's sacrilegious or to equate yourself with the Christ. Let go of it. Belief which does not serve you. Feel the sun, the S-U-N of God's light shine through and within your body, your mind, and your soul. Allow this miracle of awakening to course throughout yourself. It's okay if you feel a little sleepy too. It's okay. Or we'll do that anyway. Allow this to course throughout your own body as you accept the truth of your being. Feel the power of love which is yours and which is you. Breathe deeply of that love. For it is the breeze of being love itself which flows in and through you. But now you realize who you are. You let go of old beliefs which no longer serve you nor others. You are participating in the second coming of Christ. Actually, it is a second awakening of Christ because Christ never left us in the first place. So breathe in and let the truth of who you are settle into every crevice of your body, every cell. You are loved, and you are love itself. Remember, always be aware of who you are. Choose love and choose life. next few moments, know your own Christ. With gratitude, we, the Christ, we can go forth into the world to shine truth and love by being that truth and that love. All people and all things.